Today on the show,
Today in the vlog,
today in the shop, we're gonna show some love
to the Rawstercross.
Now you'll have to excuse its current condition. As you see, the last time that we rode this bike on the channel, I broke a spoke in the rear wheel. That video was just telling the history, kind of going down memory lane. And since having broken that spoke, I don't know, it just kind of like got brushed aside. Finally getting around to it. Earlier this week, I decided to devote an entire day towards getting all the shopping and little errands that need to get done. One of those things while I was out and about was actually getting a spoke for this thing. This tire needs to come off because this is not the story of a girl. This is probably the worst part of tubeless, is like having to take the tire off, possibly wasting some sealant, and then like putting it all back together. I anticipate having to retape this wheel shortly after the front, so we're probably gonna do it all at once. All right. Right. The free hub body can fall off of this when the axle is undone. Don't forget how much sealant is in here. It's nice to have you guys hanging out. In a pinch, this hazard tape that I used when my tires went flat literally hours before I was flying to the Canadian Cyclocross Nationals, this tape held air really well. It held air forever. But taking it off, hazard tape and sealant and possibly old water, it smells like old hockey gear. Get out. Yes! To be able to find out what length spoke I need, I had to take this apart without you guys. I hope that's okay. So for those of you who have never seen a fancier straight pull hub and the way that the spokes go in, it's kind of like that. There's a cover this that covers it when it's all together. Plenty of space there to get some tension on. This unbutted spoke versus all of the very, very heavily butted spokes all around it sticks out like a sore thumb. Hub shell, free hub body, married together for the clicky. This hub rolled really nice before I got my hands on it. Really, really easy to become maybe a little bit too obsessed with like truing a wheel. So when it gets to a point that it's like, hey, that's pretty straight, I don't have to worry about the brakes rubbing. It's not gonna rub on the frame. It's true. There's no hop in it. I'm good. And that's why I don't build wheels for people, because like there's better people than me. And part of the problem with this wheel was trying to fit in too big of a tire for the dishing of this frame and the spokes that were in this and the way this wheel kept turning out. I basically had to run very, very little tension on the non-drive side and a lot of tension on the drive side. It made the non-drive side spokes fairly weak, and then when I was riding an off-camber with a lot of grip in a tire, it popped one of the spokes. And I knew that was gonna happen. I knew that I had compromised this wheel by putting too big of a tire that was rubbing on the non-drive side chainstay on, and I did it anyway. Learned my lesson. This is a big part of what I'm fixing today. The other wheel off and the other tire off, because we're putting new tires on. All right, who thinks they can guess what tire I bought for the Rawstercross? It's obvious. You've probably already got it correct. Drum roll. Gravel Kings, TANWALL, obviously. What am I supposed to do? I'm standing there at the bike shop, look at the tire wall, it's right beside the service desk, and I'm like, well, I mean, if I'm doing this, I gotta put a smaller tire on. So I went from a 40 to a 30, 35. Let's be original here. Everybody does TANWALL. I know I love TANWALL, but just get some black walled tires. Like, just be different. I went to reach for the black tires, but I was, for some reason, like I went to go grab them, but then I grabbed these and paid for them. I knew that I had to go with a slightly smaller tire to make sure that I could get the proper tension on the non-drive side of the rear wheel again. So, Gravel Kings, I'm a big fan of. These are the SKs. These are this tread here. Okay, slight confession. This last night, this was done. I finished it late. I had a little bit of a struggle, a battle with the tubeless setup on the rear, but like I do my best to shield these videos from like me freaking out, losing my mind, being upset, and in general having like nuclear meltdowns. So I don't have any of that footage, but what I do have is a bike that's now taken apart again, a wheel that's in the touring stand, which I am rebuilding. Well, replacing spoke nipples on, because it's driving me absolutely insane that the dish is just not right. So I tried it on anyway. It's funny, if I had just not touched this, if I had not thought about it, if it was just on the bike and I didn't go anywhere near it, I wouldn't be doing any of this. I wouldn't care. But the minute that I start working on something and like put it back together to ride again, I'm like, oh, everything's gotta be perfect. And then from there, I'll just let it get dilapidated because I won't care, because I don't have to touch it. But while I'm touching it, it needs to go together well. I don't love maintaining bikes, but I should start with something decent. And this is not decent. In my head before I started this, I knew that it wasn't gonna be just as easy as like, spoke, tires, done. Yet, like my heart wanted it to be. It's fine. 29 years of life. Anytime I take on a project, I always go deeper into the project and the task at hand, no matter what. I don't think that's going to change. Now, what I was talking about, I think, was my decision to go with the 35s. I don't think we have that explanation yet. The idea being the 40 mil WTB Ventures that were on there were indeed rubbing on the non-drive side chainstay. And that was because this wheel, for whatever reason, in the Rawstercross has always been a little bit bizarre, and it's always been dished slightly to the non-drive side. And numerous times I've tried to fix it, rounding nipples and like loosening the non-drive side spokes to get the... So my thought was, take off the big tire that's on there to allow me to be able to put some tension back into the non-drive side spokes so that at least they wouldn't break while I was riding it, and I could have cool looking tires, like an excuse to buy cool looking tires, which undoubtedly, that exercise, that train of thought is like a little bit moot now, moot. And I took all the drive side nipples out of the wheel, brought all the tension out of it, and replaced all of the drive side nipples, along with greasing them and adding some spoke prep so that I could turn them and get the tension that I needed into them. And I followed a wheel build procedure that I have never done yet, so I figured today was like a good opportunity to do that. And that is bring up the tension and true and do everything on the drive side first until it's like pulled way over to the drive side. Tension's just about where it needs to be. The wheel is like running perfectly true and straight, and then use the non-drive side spokes to bring the dish where it should be inside the frame, which worked perfect. And I've got the adequate tension on the drive side. It's quite good. And I'm very, very happy with the tension on the non-drive side. So these 35 mil Gravel Kings set up tubeless on my Velocity Quills, laced to Easton hubs, ready to rock. I am not afraid to ride any off cambers or do anything stupid with them because I doubt anything's gonna break now. Okay, I'm done with this vlog. I hope you guys are too. History of the Cinelli Vigorelli, Thursday.